This is Michael Popok, Legal AF After Dark, Serious Matters, judges being threatened with assassination and worse, staff of judges, prosecutors wearing bulletproof vests and having to be escorted to and from the courthouse with armed guards. Am I talking about some dystopian future? Some new chapter of the Purge movie? No, I'm talking about reality, and we break it down and debate it on Legal AF, the podcast this past week. Here's a clip talking about what is going on with Donald Trump, his violent rhetoric, and how it's having real life consequences that the Department of Justice and the FBI have to deal with to protect lives. Take a listen. Go on to Colorado and do a quick hit there. On last week on the 19th, the Colorado Supreme Court unanimously, I'm going to do it a different way, unanimously, all 7 members of the Colorado Supreme Court agreed with the lower court, trial court's decision and findings of fact that Donald Trump was an insurrectionist and committed insurrection or rebellion against the Constitution. The debate, the rub, the reason it came out 4-3 was not on the facts. It was on the procedure. It was on whether, based on that, the Colorado Supreme Court and the Secretary of State had the power to ban Donald Trump from the ballot, or whether it was a political question or one that should be better left to either Congress, or if in a court system, through an adjudication of Donald Trump as an insurrectionist or as someone who committed rebellion, because he's not been charged with those things. So that's the fight, right? That is the perfect distinction for Donald Trump to say, those terrible 4 ridiculous liberal left-wing justices, all the justices. There's not a judge in Colorado, starting with the trial court judge. So add her onto it. 8 judges believe that Donald Trump did the things that were developed in the trial leading up to Jan 6th and beyond. Only dispute was over whether it's a political question that should only be with Congress, or whether Donald Trump needed to actually be tried and convicted of something akin to insurrection or rebellion before the 14th Amendment applied. That happened there. Donald Trump then went on social media and attacked and posted the photo and doxed the Supreme Court members that he didn't like, the 4 of them. And then they got mercilessly violently attacked and threatened with assassination so badly that the FBI has intervened, and Lisa Monaco, the number 2 in the Department of Justice, has gone on television. I did a hot take on it, in which she said, in just this week alone, 1 week in the life of the Department of Justice and the FBI, they are investigating assassination threats against more than 2, I think it's 3 presidential candidates, 1 a member of the United States Supreme Court, 4 Colorado Supreme Court justice. This sounds like some sort of perverse Christmas carol. And it's not going to end with a partridge in a pear tree either. And the like. That's 1 week. Presidential candidates, Supreme Court justices, FBI agents, and the like. So talk to this issue of Donald Trump's acting out and real world impact. You've been in situations where you've had death threats among you and your staff related to cases that you've handled. So you have an empathetic way to present this information.
Yeah, I have a very strong opinion on this. I disagree with the people who say that it comes with the territory. If you're a prosecutor, Jack Smith can get threatened, and yeah, it is true. He does have 24/7 taxpayer funded security now as a result, but I don't think it comes with the territory. And at the end of the day, we are not going to have politicians, police officers, prosecutors, and judges of any quality whatsoever, because who in their right mind is going to sign up for those jobs where you don't get paid as much as you could get paid in the private sector? Why would you do that if you're going to have to get your home address put on television or social media or wherever he puts all this stuff and publicize it and doxes people, and your family gets harassed and you get harassed and criticized and death threats? I mean, it's not fun. It is not. It's more than not fun. It's actually terrifying. I was for a couple of years, I worked in the homicide investigation unit at the Manhattan DA's office, which was basically we investigated the violent gangs in the 90s, and back then crime was very different than it is now, and it was these really, really violent street gangs, and my husband was doing something similar at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then we would get actual death threats where we'd have to have, at one point I'll never forget, we had police cars that were stationed outside of my children's elementary school. And my mother-in-law's house had a Molotov cocktail thrown on her front lawn. And we were getting horrific death threats and all sorts of things. And it's actually terrifying. And it's not, I left that unit. I said, I don't want to do this work. It wasn't for me. And I actually, believe it or not, went and did child abuse cases because I felt that was extremely rewarding and I loved doing that work. And you didn't have to have the problem that you have with these death threat cases. It's not right. It's not right for court staff or judges. I mean, these are normal, regular people. Every judge in the Colorado Supreme Court who is getting death threats is just a regular person who is a public servant, and they're interpreting the law as best as they can and as best as they know how. And to have heinous, horrific comments, that people are saying that is echoing words that I think Trump uses, when he says things like poisoning the blood and thugs, et cetera. He's agitating people in a way that is radicalizing, I think, his base. And the threats to Jews are up. The threats to the Arab Americans are up ever since Trump has been using this kind of rhetoric, and the death threats that the Colorado Supreme Court justices are talking about at these fringe websites are talking about beheading judges. There was one comment that something about slam dunk a judge's baby into a trash can, and just really, then I think there was also a pro-Trump forum called The Donald that had a post from a supporter that bragged about his own involvement in the insurrection on January 6th and was arrested, and said that this will all end when we kill these effers, the F word. And this isn't normal, and it shouldn't be normalized, and it shouldn't come with the job description. It's just not right. Otherwise, you're just going to have good people say it's not worth it. And then you're going to be left with people who aren't the quality of people that you want making judgments over people's lives, in my opinion. And so I just think at the end of the day, Judge Engoron, because he was sued personally in New York, then submitted a filing that Jack Smith used, that was a transcript. I think it was like a 270-page transcript, single-spaced, of all the threats that came in as a result of Donald Trump and what he said about Judge Engoron and Judge Engoron's law secretary. And somehow we just think that that's okay. Somehow we as a society have just said, he can't be gagged. He has a First Amendment right to do this. I mean, God forbid something happens and somebody gets hurt. That's when everybody's going to suddenly say, you know what, enough is enough. But in the meantime, now somehow we all just accept it. And I refuse to accept it. I don't think it's okay. And I don't think it's okay even for Jack Smith, for his family, for judges. I don't think you shouldn't be allowed to threaten them. And I do think that I think it's atrocious and appalling.
Yeah, I didn't think there'd be anybody better positioned than you to talk about that as passionate as you do. I can talk about it, but not from the vantage point that you have. But I totally agree with your point. That's not what people sign up for. They're doing their civic duty. They're doing God's work in a lowly paid job to bring justice and enforce our justice system and make sure that it runs appropriately. And they didn't sign up to be attacked mercilessly and doxxed and be threatened. I'll just end it on this. We've had enough instances in America of judges opening up their doors and being shot, their family members being shot and killed. We just had it recently with a federal judge opening up your mailbox and finding a white powder or an explosive device. This happens more regularly than we like to admit in this country of judges, state judges, federal judges, district attorneys, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and the like. They are, we are members of, you and I and Ben, we're members of a proud profession, but we're ones that are also, because of what we do and what we talk about, that have a target on our back, and it shouldn't be there. And it's not right. I talked about in a hot take that Judge Chutkan, who jogs, this is part of her persona. She's an athlete, a dancer by training. She has to have federal marshals jog with her and escort her to and from the courthouse and get her home safely. Fonnie Willis's team wear armored vests and are armed, and the sheriff's department escorts them. Same thing for the head of the Department of Public Safety in New York, who assesses the threats against judges and their staff. I wish we didn't live in this kind of world where there's such a lack of respect for anybody that we wouldn't have to worry about putting them in harm's way. We got a congressional candidate in Colorado who just announced as part of his platform, a former military, a veteran, that he believes that the 4 justices doing their civic duty and wearing a black robe in Colorado and voted against, in a way, Donald Trump or for democracy, it's another way to look for it, they should be tried and hanged for treason. This is the rhetoric that leads, once you light a match, that leads to a result that we can't recover from. At every level. I don't want U.S. Supreme Court justices threatened with violence either, even the ones that are MAGA and are on the wrong side of the aisle from me. I don't want any of that. Neither is Karen, neither is Ben. We just have to continue to do what's civil, even in a criminal process. We have to do what's right. We have to do what's just. We have to do what's part of our social contract and our Constitution. And keep your hands off your neighbors. I mean, this is something you were told in nursery school and kindergarten. Keep your hands to yourself. Okay, you got something to say, exercise your First Amendment right appropriately and at the appropriate place. Short of that, drop your weapons, stop throwing your hands around, because it's only going to get somebody killed and you put into prison for a long, long time, or worse, depending upon what state you're in and what you do. Well, if you'd enjoy that, then you're going to love the full-length podcast we do every Wednesday and Saturdays at 8 p.m. One place right here, MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Help them get to 2 million free subscribers. They've got no outside investors. You are the change you were looking for. You are the network that you were looking for. Use your thumbs, use your fingers, free subscribe, get them to 2 million before the first quarter of 2024. If you like that, you're going to love the full-length podcast. We do about 4 or 5 stories we curate at the intersection of law, politics, and justice. We bring it to you just like that. Wednesdays, I do it with Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Saturdays with Ben Mycelis. And then we do hot takes, the 3 leaders with our, 100 years of collective law experience. I don't know, it's something like that. We do it on hot takes, sort of like this one, about every hour, only on the MeidasTouch network. If you know about us already, and that was just a reminder that we exist, and to bring you back to the show, welcome back. Thank you. We appreciate you being along on our journey. Take that clip, send it to a loved one, somebody in your life that you want to have to introduce to Legal AF, and see if you can get them to join what we're doing here. If you have no idea what I'm talking about on the MeidasTouch Network, it's all news to you. I'm Michael Popok. That was Legal AF. Give me a thumbs up for this particular hot take. Until we meet again on Legal AF Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel.
Thanks so much for watching. We're only a few subscribers short of 2 million subs. Please subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for free and help us grow this unapologetically pro-democracy network.